Try This at Home is an AxFi Entertainment Group production, filmed on the mall in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at Public Media Network Studios in the Epic Center.
I woke up this morning, I could feel it was on the summit. The sunshine is golden, bluebird, blue sky. Lord, hoping it's right on time. You wait for me. Oh yeah, I can feel it alright. I can feel it alright. This ain't no back home. 56K internet and core wild phones. It's the same old tune from long, long ago. So go try this at home. Try this at home. Try this at home. Try this at home.
All right, so I'm going to give us a slate. Queen, you're going to kick us off whenever you're ready.
All right. What's a good catchphrase to come in with? I hate
Boom
doing this shit.
shakalaka!
What's your shirt say?
I don't know.
Roll me up and smoke me when I die. I'm Michael Queen. That's
All
how
right,
you're,
all
that's
right.
how
There
you're,
we
that's how
go.
you're starting it off.
All right, give me another slate.
Let's get that single shot on the Queen, man, and stuff. There it is. There, let's go. That's
All right.
with intent to the people. They want to.
One more time.
They want eye
Slay.
contact. They want eye
We don't need
contact.
another slate.
We kind of don't, do we?
No.
All right. Roll me up and smoke me when I die. My name is Michael Queen, and I'm back with another episode of Try This at Home podcast. I'm joined once again
Yes.
by... Hold on, I'll get to that. I'm joined once again by my co-hosts, Damien Faust and Trevor Penn.
What up,
and
dog? That's
Finally.
right. That is right.
I'm dying, literally right now as we speak.
Now the universe is
Way to
at
nail
balance.
that intro, though. I'm really glad that we went with this, as we know how big of a Willie Nelson fan you are.
So let me explain the Willie Nelson shirts.
Oh my
Shirts. I'm so glad. I hope you guys
let's
caught that
immediately
last
get off
transient.
topic.
Shirts.
Just slightly off topic. I don't know why I have a bunch either.
Yes, he
my
does.
family just got everybody a bunch of Willie Nelson shirts. I'm pretty sure
So
it's
you're
an
going to
inside
offload your
joke.
family to your bad jokes.
Well, that's where they all came from. And it was some sort of inside joke, I believe, and they never let me in on it, but I got a bunch of free cool shirts, and Willie Nelson's cool.
Well, first
So
off, here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I literally just grab it out of the closet
No.
on
I
a
have to
Sunday.
say this right now. Here's the thing. First off, from all real Willie Nelson fans everywhere, we don't even accept you anymore because instead of accepting your
No,
fanhood,
I'm still a fan of Willie
you try
Nelson.
to pass
Who
it
doesn't
off.
love Willie Nelson?
Because you're passing off. You're passing off and throwing people in an underbrushes kind of way, and we don't appreciate that. And we have a great community over here in the Willie Nelsonville, and you're not invited anymore.
Oh, so-
so
so-
we would like you to pack your bags and
Hey.
vacate town.
Name an album from Willie Nelson.
Well, Shotgun Willie.
I was
Shut
just-
up.
All right, so today's episode is about the introduction. It's basically going to be an introduction to MIDI and software instruments. We're thinking this is probably going to be at least a two-parter.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
got a lot to cover.
We're not thinking we know for a fact that this is going to be at least a
We're
two-parter.
planning this is gonna be at least a two-parter. Oop, I'm peeking. We're planning this is going to be at least a two-parter, but it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to this subject, and we're going to kick it off with the history of MIDI.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about MIDI. If you've ever owned any kind of keyboard, even like a little sort of crappy Casio keyboard, or just mostly any sort of little electronic keyboard that you've ever purchased, you're going to notice somewhere on it says General MIDI, and it has this logo that's on all of them. That's because it meets a standardization that happened around 1983. What MIDI is instead of recording sound itself, this whole time we've been talking about recording and playing back audio sound itself. MIDI does not record sound. It records information about the sound.
Yep.
And it uses code to kind of represent that after the fact and also on the way in. So instead of recording the sound of a trumpet, you would record the fact that a trumpet happened, when it happened, how long it happened, how loud it was when it played, things like that. And that can all be represented in code mostly in numbers between 0 to 127.
Yep.
128 values that you can choose from and assign in MIDI. And why do you think it's 128? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that whole thing.
Wasn't it
128 values.
It's from some factor of doubling. What I don't remember is the math of what your constant is, but then after you find your constant, isn't it a doubling thereafter?
It's because we use 7-bit bytes of data,
right,
and that times the power of 7. Please don't ask me to go into the real math about it.
Can
but
you go into
that
the real
times
math about this?
No.
I just
two times the power of 7. It equals out to having specifically 128 integers
Okay,
that you can choose from, which we assign as 0 to 127.
And in computer language, that is your full band.
Yeah,
that you
and
can
it's very
maximize.
stripped down. It's very basic. Honestly, when we're going to get into MIDI controllers later, but realistically, on the side of the computer, it handles it the same way as any other human interface device, such as your keyboard and your mouse and trackpad. It's a very simple, easy, basic protocol. It's just another type of human interface device with the computer.
but right, more specifically than just being another type, it was at least because it wasn't as heavily influenced by musicians at the time. We're talking about when it first really got started. So it was still, though, it was computer programmers. The best way that they could give musicians, performers, content creators, right, the ability to utilize the power of the computer. Right, and everything has to play within that sandbox. Well, here goes, right, they learned this was the most simple but most effective, right? It has to be simple because you got to be able to get it coded, it's got to be able to be replicated easily. But it actually has to be effective. It actually needs to be able to do what you need it to do, which is what was the big setback when it came to trying to digitize audio and digitize music is, yeah, we could technically pick up the fact audio was happening, that we were doing things with sound. What we were not doing well for quite some time was accurately representing or replicating what was actually happening. We were just able to, we had to learn, okay, we're detecting it not first. Now we have to learn how to fine tune to figure out how to actually make it sound here like it actually does in the room that we're in, right? And that was I think actual slow learning curve because if it started in '83, I don't think it was until maybe mid '90s, late '90s that you actually had a real sweeping presence of the digitization of audio and it being accepted, like widely accepted.
It did not start in '83.
No,
it kind of just.
Well, I mean, no, it became standardized. Like when we finally when we finally agreed on a protocol.
And so
and a unit,
when we're talking about the history, then let me just clarify that MIDI or some different form of using it was used with a lot of different samplers, but they weren't. You couldn't use them. What's what I'm thinking? They weren't compatible because one manufacturer might use different things to assign. Different numbers mean this note. Different numbers mean that note. They had different ways of doing things for the longest time. So in order to make sure that everybody's products were cross-compatible with no matter what gear you have and what you plug a Roland into a Yamaha keyboard, it's still going to be triggering the same type of things. They decided to come up with a standardization of that, and that happened at the NAMM show in 1983. NAMM, yeah, it's National Association of Music Merchants. And at one of their events,
they usually hold 2 expos every year, one in the summer and one in the winter. The winter one's usually the bigger expo. Right. Lots of I shout out to Heritage Guitars. I used to work at Heritage.
Oh yeah,
Guitars.
yeah.
So
they probably had. Oh wait.
They had very specific.
Have it on a button.
Guitars they would make for this.
Can we get a zoom in on Damien's face?
Heritage Guitars, NAMM. Go ahead.
They made some specific guitars for NAMM every year, and it's usually a big deal. And they sent a bunch of people over to represent the company, and a lot of companies do that, like Roland, Gibson, Fender.
Big press, big marketing.
My favorite thing about NAMM is all the new pedals that come out. That like I have the plasma pedal when that came out the other day. It's like a distortion pedal. I'm not going to get into it right now, but that came out of NAMM. NAMM's
a big conference. It's like it's where audio people go to nerd, super hardcore.
Exactly. It's where tech guys go to tech, amongst other tech guys.
Right on. So yeah, anyway, they had decided to sit down as manufacturers and come up with a generalized standard for that protocol, so that everybody's toys played well together for the most part. And one of the first ones they made was the Roland Jupiter 6. Lucian, if we can jump over to my computer screen real quick, here's a picture of a good old vintage Roland Jupiter 6.
A Jupiter?
Yeah, and then also one of the first drum machine made with MIDI, with general MIDI protocol was the 909. The Roland T. It was a Roland.
No, it wasn't the 909, was it?
Yeah, it was.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that would have been like a second or
would've been
third
like
The Roland TR 909, no.
Oh, wow.
That was the first one that used general MIDI. Now, the 808, the 606, the 707, those were still samplers, but they did not have general MIDI capability.
Gotcha.
The first one was the 909.
Gotcha. Okay.
I was thinking, I'm like, no, that's not the first drum machine,
I'm
bro.
thinking,
Of
like,
course not. No.
I don't know the history too well, but I'll walk that plank. And see
There
what
is a
happens.
303. I've seen it.
So that's without getting into the nitty gritty of it all, that's the basic function and history of MIDI. As you can see, it's a relatively old communication protocol, but obviously, like I think we mentioned on a previous episode, the audio world tends to hold on to old vintage things because if it's not broke, don't fix it.
Well, I was going to say, and I think Damien, you alluded to this in the conference room just earlier.
Yeah.
Certain things, textile we haven't changed the way we do it in hundreds of years. We just found machines can do it faster. Like legitimately, age doesn't mean anything. That actually is a good thing. If it can last that long,
Right.
means we've got it to its simplest common
One more
denominator.
thing.
This is it. This is the root, and we're affecting the root, not the branch. You know what I mean? So
We never actually talked about this. Let's just sidestep real quick just to talk about the actual connections. A lot of MIDI can now be transmitted with any sort of USB, no matter what
Right.
type of USB protocol that is. That's pretty simple. But a legacy MIDI input, which a lot of gear still has on them.
Still works.
And still works just fine. They're going to look like these. They're called 5-port MIDI DIN cables. And each one of these pins, as you can see here, can we go back to my computer?
You're on it.
Yeah,
right
we're on
now.
it.
I should have got a better picture here. But each one of these 5 pins corresponds to one of the 5 different MIDI messages that we send, which I'm going to try to remember this off the top of my head. We have note.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I'm going to pull that up in case I pull it off. Hold on. We have note data. We have duration.
Yep.
We have velocity. Velocity being how quiet or how loud the thing is played. Oh God. Channel. We have channel. And then the 5th one I'm always having a hard time remembering. And we never usually hook that up and use it anyway. Come on. Do you remember?
I thought specifically it was the off, right? Because the first one
No,
is
no,
actually
the no off is
signal
just
detection on, and then it was detection off.
No, it just sends 2 signals. When you play something, you get a no on message with the velocity of whatever that plays at.
Yep.
And then following it to shut it off, you have to send another no off message at a velocity of 0.
But that's what I mean. But I thought that the 5th pin was what sent. That was what sent.
No,
because
that all just happens on the velocity channel. I can't remember. So now I feel like
Now
an
you got
asshole.
me.
Now I got to pull it up.
You guys are nerds.
Hang on.
Whatever.
MIDI
And proud.
connector. I don't know even how to look this up.
Here, there we go. The search is on. Let's see if I can do it in 30 seconds or less. Somebody put
I
me on
feel
the
like an
clock.
idiot, and it's on the tip of it's on the peripheral of my brain right now.
The peripheral?
The peripheral. The peripheral.
All right.
No. If anybody out there is watching and already knows, they're going to be like, these guys are idiots. Yeah.
You know
yeah,
what?
we are.
We are.
I'm old. I can't speak for the rest of you.
I'm a monkey,
Well, also,
My brain's 40 years old. It's hard to remember stuff.
Is it
and I push buttons.
the profiterole?
No, it's
Profiterole? I don't know.
I'm finding it, but I'm only finding the technical side of it, not the actual
5 pins.
software
in.
side of it.
Thank goodness we're going to be able to cut some of this. Our actual YouTube channel that shows all of this is going to be bad for this episode. Why didn't
It's-
you look this up before?
we can cut all this crap.
Yeah.
Well,
Cut all this crap.
yeah, I'm only finding the technical specs, right? How we're actually doing it from an electrical engineering side, but not actually from an audio side. Well, you know,
You can probably look it up on MIDI.org
right?
and figure it all out. Let's not get.
5 DIN pin. Hold on, I'm getting there.
No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
No, you're not.
Consumer electronic. No. Wait. Here we. No. Whatever. It's one that we don't use. Let me get some silence real quick, so it'll be easier for me to cut this shit out. And I also said shit, so then I'll have to cut that out too. So give me 2, 3 seconds of silence. Okay, well, the fifth one I honestly can't remember right now, and I don't care to pull it up.
We don't need to get into it.
After the great rabbit hole search of 1987.
Yeah, it's never used. And in fact, I like to build a lot of electronics, specifically MIDI controllers, and I don't usually use any more than 3 of those, which of course is going to be note, velocity, and channel, of course. Wait.
Duration.
Duration.
No, duration, because it gets complicated, but duration usually can be handled within the software a lot easier that way. Anyway, so yeah, that's the brief history of MIDI and what it does and how it works.
You like MIDI? You make MIDI controllers? What the heck are those?
MIDI control. Yes, I make various MIDI controllers for fun because I'm a gigantic nerd, but I also own a bunch of them for the exact same reason. And I brought one in today. This is a very popular one. A lot of people own this. It's called the MPK Mini 2, specifically by AxFi. They usually only retail for around $100 or something, and you could even get cheaper knockoffs of it too that are virtually the exact same and just as good.
And also, as a musician who never buys things new ever,
right?
There are a lot of people who have these things sitting around and then just put them up on a marketplace or used. You can find them used for $50 to $80.
Yeah,
easily.
And it makes you kind of sad to be honest.
New ones are $100 to $150 ish, but you can find one used so easy. This is a very common model, or you can find other synthesizers, relatively, or MIDI controllers like that, relatively inexpensive on a used market.
Yeah, and this one is a very good example of all the different types of data you can use. And I did forget to mention one thing we were talking about the basics of MIDI, is it's not all just about note data. There's also something called control data. It's also known as CC data. Stuff where you can create a switch to turn something on or off, a trigger where it actually just triggers it and makes the thing happen, and also CC data where you can have a modulation wheel, like any of these right here. Any of these buttons can be mapped to anything that requires CC data for control surfaces.
What those that you're referring to when you say these are they're basically the knobs?
They're knobs, yeah.
Pan pots.
We got some pots. Some of them have some faders. All of that stuff can be mapped as CC MIDI data. Mm-hmm. There's also a little analog controller on that, and that of course is just 2 different modulation CC control settings, X and Y data.
And I think it's worth doing, aside from switches, right? Like buttons are considered switches to some degree, right? Yeah. So aside from those MIDI triggers, if you're looking at your keyboard setup, you're looking at a pan pot, if you're looking at a fader, to note, right, all of them are using only from 0 to 127.
Exactly, right.
But that's always
each time you map
structure.
this,
maximum is 127, minimum is 0.
Yeah,
always.
Unless you go into the settings and change exactly where the minimum or maximum is. Right. If you just simply map this to pretty much any modulator in a digital audio workstation or software, which will show you how that gets done, then it's going to go from 0 all the way to 100, meaning for those not able to watch with it all the way, with this pot that I have here, if that
0 to 127, 0 to 127. As for, I'm thinking for the actual MIDI data communicated.
With it all the way to the left, it's 0. With it all the way to the right, it's it would be 127. Yep. 100%. And every amount in there in between. And now I know most of you who would have watched the episode and saw the information about quantization errors, you think that you're going to get all these quantization errors when you only have 128 integers to choose from. But within a coding language, wherever that would get used, you usually scale that with some math to something, to whatever number you want it to be.
That has enough,
0 to 1.
Subdivisions for the application you need it for.
Yeah, exactly. You can scale it with floating point integers, but we won't go into that because
a lot a
whole other series about coding itself, pretty much. Screw that.
So that actually leads us really nicely into what these MIDI controllers control, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be the fun part of this episode. And my hair does whatever the frick it wants sometimes, dude.
Too sexy for my hair gel.
Wait. Can we hop over to my computer real quick? Just one last thing to touch base on. I just wanted to show everybody. When we're talking about that 100, those numbers and note data and all that, what gets transmitted on the note connection for MIDI, as we see here, these are all the notes that we get to choose from different octaves and registers. And we have 0 to 127. Each one of those, meaning that if you type in with the MIDI code or whenever you're just playing something on there, it's transmitting, say, a 3 when I want to play a D sharp. It's playing, it's transmitting a 3, and it's recording that I'm playing the number 3, which then gets tied to D sharp.
And well, the thing is that it also is specifically 3 would only come up to the computer if he's specifically playing D sharp 2 octaves below middle C. Because we actually start, that's where we started, is actually the 2 octaves below middle C is 0, and we work our way all the way up through.
Which is 24, actually. Yeah. Middle C is 24 in the MIDI code.
And anyone who actually natively plays piano is probably going to tell you that 128 keys is a lot of keys.
Yeah. Considering that we're trying to span 88, imagine trying to add on another.
You're looking at like 10 octaves basically right there, which is a lot of range to work as a composer.
And you can have up to 16 channels. That means that just like a soundboard, when we have these multiple channels that can all be bused or sent other places, MIDI allows you to connect multiple controllers all through the same cable, the same chain them all together, and have one cable assigned to channel 1. Another one assigned to channel 2. And then the things that are making your sound, you can then decide this is going to only accept signals from channel 1, and this one's only going to accept signals from channel 2. So you can have multiple controllers tied together and be playing and triggering different software instruments and patches.
A really cool thing that I'm going to say that this is we do this in practice.
You can do it all on one controller for that matter.
We do this in practice as a band, basically. The last couple of times that we've gotten together, we are not going through amplifiers anymore.
It's making it easy.
We don't even have acoustic drums. We basically just have triggers and a sample pad, and that's all run through MIDI directly. And then our guitars are run through direct.
Speaking of, that's just a different type of MIDI trigger, such as this one here. These are velocity-sensitive pads. Velocity-sensitive means if I play it quiet, it's not going to be very loud. Here, let me actually give you an example of that from, let's see, where's our drum?
So, while he's looking at that, I think this is an awesome little side note to help kind of bring us a filled-in understanding of the 128, right? And the octaves, like why is it, 2 octaves below middle C, but, we take our MIDI code and we did 8 octaves above it. And really, that goes back to, our audio, the human hearing. Once you get more than 2 octaves below middle C, you really are producing frequencies the human body can't even sense anyway. Like we can sense them, but you wouldn't sense them in the sense that we call hearing. You don't hear that. You either felt it, and that's if you could feel it, right? It'd have to be pretty high magnitude for it to be felt. But we can go up, presumably. We've been able to prove scientifically we can perceive the effects that frequencies higher than 20,000 hertz have on our perception of frequencies beneath it. And so that was why there's actually so many more octaves of frequency range, because that's more than just now the reproduction of formerly acoustic instruments, but to like truly synthesizers and our completely digitally born instruments and what they can do and how they can affect the frequency space.
So if I'm hitting this very quietly, it triggers a quiet sound. If I hit it harder, it gets louder. That's velocity sensitive.
Yep.
And what Damien was talking about, our setup when we practice, it's just a bunch of pads that are pretty much the same thing. It's the same type of connection. I should say the same type of component, but it's just in the shape of a real drum, pretty much. Stuck on a membrane, a real drum, so that a drummer can play on it like it's a real drum.
And our instruments, the bass and the guitar, run directly through an interface, so it's just a direct signal in. We dial that in on the preamps, and then we actually use software instruments to dial in the tone from there.
You can especially for practice and rehearsal, right? That a digital amp is perfectly
like
good.
One of the I was actually talking a little bit before our show here about one of the things that I've been doing a lot lately in my free time is trolling old dudes in guitar forums who exist on analog only, and like you got to carry around that tube amp everywhere. There's no reason why you shouldn't do that. Nothing sounds better. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm not arguing that.
What I'm sounds fantastic.
It does sound fantastic. I didn't say that.
But I don't want to work that hard.
But I don't. And I've done a lot of shows in my life. I'm tired of carrying stuff. I'm 40.
Hey, if somebody wants to volunteer to carry it, I'm all about it. If you want me to play on it and you'll carry it, I'll play on it, bro.
If I got a road crew and a budget for them to carry stuff where I just don't have to do anything except show up, sign me up for those analog amps. For sure.
There was this show we used to do. This band I was in, Losing September. We did like a short tour for a couple months. That's exactly what it sounds like. That was the theme song.
If you really think about it, Green Day did it first.
You know, I never actually bothered to ask where the name came from.
It's
But anyway,
probably from that "Wake Me Up When September Ends."
we toured frat houses, specifically the Sigma Chi, and those were the best because not only did those guys party the best, but as soon as we would get there, we'd start loading our own gear like we were used to, and somebody would come out and be like, "Pledges, get their gear on stage now!" And so we just have free road crew the whole time.
Oh, that
Can't
sounds
argue that.
great.
Yeah, that does sound like a luxury.
Yeah, it was great.
If you get it.
More controllers.
So
Take a couple look at them.
we use software plugins to kind of model the sound for the guitar and the bass to get the tones that we want, which segueing into what I want to go into next here, which are what are software plugins, right? We got a couple different root types. I'm just going to outlay what we got on our outline here. We got signal generators, signal effectors, and signal replicators. So who wants to just talk about those really quick?
I'm going to let you do that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll dive off into that. I mean, and this is to really break it down to its least common denominator, right? What is the smallest particle we are building with and building up? And in general, our plugins are only going to do one of three things. It's either going to generate a sound, right? It's going to be a sound source, or it is going to, and that's a generator, right? So that's going to be something like a synthesizer, legitimately what a synthesizer is. We're playing with different wave shapes and forms, but we are actually creating and generating the signal right there within the synthesizer, and then we are going to do some affecting and some things to it, just like in our analog synthesizers. Digitals are always made off of their analog counterpart. So if we're not generating the signal, that means something else generated, but we're going to affect it then in a way. I want to do something to that signal more than just let it. Well, maybe I want to let it perfectly go through as is, but I mean,
yeah, it all depends.
I mean,
Right, yeah,
compressor. I will say we do that with compressor noise gate. We are really
Yeah.
trying to affect it as minimally as possible, but right in general, when we're talking about effectors, we're also talking about things like delay, reverb. Like I want to, or modulators. I want to actually, pitch frequency shifters. I want to manipulate this thing. I want to make it malleable and then send it out the other end some other way that it came into.
Right.
So we got effectors, and then the last thing that we have is we're going to replicate it, which is the specific thing I do with this is I can take what you feed into me, and I can't necessarily manipulate. I can't create anything new from it, but I can do whatever sort of affecting that replication, starting and stopping of this specific sound. What you can do with that, and that's our replicators. That's our samplers, right? That's where really our drum machines come from. It doesn't have to be a drum, right? You can plug in a woohoo, put it on the button, and now every time you hit that button, whoop 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 woohoo.
And also,
right?
I like this.
One of the things.
Just like that. Just like that.
I love it.
One of the things that I also like to kind of argue with about, you hear it a lot in kind of online social media circles, or even with older folks in general, where they're just like, no one's making new good music anymore. I'm like, no, they are. You just don't listen to it.
Right.
And then also people who want to discredit electronic music as a genre is like just.
How?
Like, yeah, exactly.
Like, it's so big now, and on all the things you can do with it. How?
you
How can
combine
you
them
discredit
together?
Well,
that?
see, here's the thing. As typically, a lot of those people are kind of the same. They're discrediting, saying there is no new music, no one's doing anything any new way, and then they're like, oh, well, electronic music isn't real music, and I'm like, okay, electronic music is real music, and also it is literally an entirely new genre with a bunch of different subgenres within it that has come about in the last.
But think about how
20
many
to 30
persons
years.
of legitimate high skill, right? And now people want to say, well, what is this value to society? Well, I believe music has a very valuable role, so don't ask me that because I'll get on the soapbox.
I am not going to go off on how much our work is undervalued by society.
But think about this though. But think about if you're a person, you still have to have a control interface.
Right.
Like, let alone to create what you created, you had to master some interface to produce the thing. Right. And so now to say that's not even a real genre, how? And then you have true skill that is directly applied. You cannot do this thing except with this specific skill set. Right. How is that not then qualified as an industry?
The funny thing about it too is when people are like, "Well, it's not music in the same way." So I'm like, you do realize that they're basically it's come full circle with music in this way, right? Yeah. And the old ways, before you played in front of a symphony, right? What would you do? You'd sit down and you'd write it down on a staff. Yep. Right, and then you bring it to somebody to play.
If you could compose, if you even understood the music language that well.
Exactly, but like that's kind of how a lot of like larger orchestrations happen. Yep. And with electronic music, it's kind of the exact same. They're doing it, but they're doing it with MIDI data.
Yep.
And
I was going to say
they're doing it on a staff the same way. It is a high level composition.
think about it. What two dots did we connect, right? It brought composition to the power of technology, right? We didn't change the way we do textiles. Machines can just do it faster. We don't change the way. We still use the same staff, the exact same code, the exact same nodes. We just found I can push this button and I can tell my computer this means 500 different things depending on the need. So it means I can write my composition while I'm playing it. The software's just writing it on staff for me behind. All you did was play it in, and the MIDI data actually collected all the information at one time, sent it to all of the different departments, if we want to think of it that way, that needed, and then each department did with that information what it needed to do, and it's like, why not? Why would you not? Right? It's
Yeah,
just,
you can arbitrarily, you can write out something, say you record in MIDI a horn, and then you're like, I don't want that to be a horn. I want that to be a harmonica. You can just change it to a harmonica. You don't have to re-record it.
I can personally say how many times I'm creating content, right? And you just know the instrument, like this is a horn thing, like that's the role it would be in an acoustic,
but initially it was
band instrument. But you just knew I want it to be something else. But I gotta, for my ear's sake, I gotta write it with this sound because this is my ear knows how to identify it. Then you write the part out,
right? And
then you go sound replace. Like, all right, but now I don't know what sound I want to be. I knew I don't want it to be actual horns, but that's the role. And then you go find some crazy sound to go fill in or somewhere, start modulating some baby cries.
But like the amount of thought and deliberate effort into the frequency ranges that you're hearing in electronic music by electronic composers has usually a high level of understanding of not just music composition but actual audio engineering and the frequencies in which you're using synthesized sounds to sound like a drum and hold a percussive element, and then other different types of synthesized sounds to be, a deep wub bass or a higher synth pad or lead. I can't stand these people online who are saying that there is no new music and that electronic music, it's all over the place. There is new music. You just don't like it.
And I think a lot of people who didn't stay plugged in, they also. And I would like us to be a resource for that. Help internet community. If you watch the show, let's help be a positive part of this. I think some people genuinely don't have a resource to get in contact with real new good music. But their own doing whatever, it's their own fault because they didn't stay connected to music. But it's like, let's be that portal.
But if your exposure to something is narrow and you don't know much about it because you don't actually consume a lot of music. Like I know I consume a lot more music than most people do, but I'm a musician. That's part of the trade. And I want to be influenced by a lot of these things and I love music. So of course I'm going to listen to a lot more things than most people do. But a person who isn't doing this as a trade as much and is only listening to the radio very often, and that's the only place they know to get their music, they may feel, oh, well, there's no new music that's coming out because I am not exposed to it. Right. And I like to correct those people. And then if they push back and they're actually just being gatekeepers, I'm like, just shut up. just
I ain't got no time for that.
Stop.
I ain't got no time for that.
Stop the gatekeeping. And just say that you don't like it, you don't listen to it, it's not for you.
You don't get it.
And
that's fine.
Exactly.
That's okay.
And music is cultural. It changes every generation.
The last true musician was Rush Limbaugh.
How and why? How is that possible?
That's just how I imagine somebody talking to Damien. It's like, when I listen to music, I listen to talk radio.
Right. Well, so actually, let's have some fun. Now that we have gone through what signal generators, effectors, replicators are, we're going to talk about additive and subtractive synthesis a little bit.
Okay, so the first one we're going to get into is something called Absynth. It is an additive synthesizer. Now, there's two major different categories when it comes to synthesis, additive and subtractive. I'm going to show you a couple different examples of both. The reason why I like to use Absynth is because I think it's a perfect example and easiest to understand and use how additive synthesis works.
Can I interject really quickly here then, before we dive too much further than that, just so that we can understand in general, right? By additive and subtractive, what we're saying is that there are two ways that we can synthesize sound. We can either add, generate, create sound, or we can synthesize a sound by taking a sound that is already there and then detracting some component or multiple components from it that now created it or turned it into a new sound, right? So we have synthesized a sound from some of those additive and subtractive, just on a very basic level.
Yeah, exactly. So, for instance, when we were talking about additive synthesis, we have oscillators. It's basically it just generates one frequency only, and in sound that never happens in the real life. Everything is a complex wave, but something like this is a simple wave. It is just one tone, right? It's very low. Let's turn that up.
And can we this actually segues into what I want to elaborate on. Our oscillators may only play one thing at a time, but they actually do play more than one thing, right?
Not unless you add more to it. And that's why this one's a great example because, are we on my screen? All right, let's
So here, I'll say this. What we mean is our oscillators, right? We actually have 3 succinct type of waveforms that we deal
3
with.
or more, however many you want, but this one has 3. And most of them have 3.
But in general, on the most basic level, we only have 3. You have a signed wave, which is a perfect curve.
Oh, right.
You have a square wave, which is the effect of clipping, but it sounds a very specific way. And then you have a triangle wave, which is a linear averaging. But those, at its most fundamental form, every waveform we deal with is either one in its pure form or a composite of those 3 forms.
Good
That's
point.
all that we have.
Let's look at and hear an example of a few of them. This is a single sine wave. All right.
My perfect harmony
We're going to
skills.
switch to a triangle wave, like you mentioned.
Do you hear that specific bit
I
of
love
bite?
triangle waves.
Yeah.
I do. I love triangle.
And if you the best way to hear it is in that sine wave, what you'll notice is there was no bite. It was just a smooth. The sound sounded like smooth tunnel air. Whereas a triangle, you can hear the edge. It feels jagged.
Right.
There's just a bit of bite. Now, depending on how we amplify that, it can be more or less, apparent or perceivable. But you can hear this edge of these waves like coming to a point and then quickly descending away from it, not smoothly going off on a curvature on a sine wave away from that transient.
And this one, you can actually see the difference. It shows you on the oscillator itself, such as right here, what that wave actually looks like. Mm-hmm. For instance, we have a sine wave. That's a sinusoidal wave. It's like that. And then we have a triangle. We have a triangle that's more like a triangle.
Makes it
and we also have saw, which is like a saw. And that sounds like this. A little bit more distorted, right?
And can you tell us what is it with the saw wave? What have we done to the triangle wave that makes the saw wave so succinct?
We've changed when the actual wave starts. Pretty much kind of like, so we have a sound wave and it's doing this, right? Mm-hmm. We're making it do this instead.
So instead of making like circular patterns in the waveform, it's more of a jagged triangle.
Right.
And so particularly the saws itself is what we've done is you've picked either the beginning or the end.
Yeah.
And you've made that point start or end at maximum, right? And so in effect, what we've done is that instead of doing both directions, normally we ascend and descend. What makes the saw have its effect is we've picked, again, either the beginning or the end, and we've made it only does one motion. It either ascends, and it's always ascending to max, and then starting back at 0, right? Just go straight to 0. Mm-hmm. Or it's always descending, starting at the max and going down to 0. But and that sounds a certain way when we hear a thing go to peak and then just cut and then go to peak, or start at peak and fade away, but then immediately right back to peak. Repeatedly, our ears trigger that and hear that, and right, that's that buzzsaw. Yeah.
So actually, as part of our example, let's go back to my computer. I'm going to load up a sine wave in one oscillator, and see this thing has 3 different oscillators that you can mix together. For the second one, we'll make that one a triangle, right? And then for the third, of course, we'll get our...
Did we find a square wave?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, here's a square wave. Nah, it's not quite square. That's a better
That looks
square.
more square, yeah.
That's way more square. And it sounds like this. That's a little bit loud. We're going to turn that down a little bit.
As square waves often are.
So that's all 3 of them mixed together. Now we also have filters, because when it comes to synthesis, you don't typically just stick to additive or subtractive. It's a combination of the 2. Yep. So now that we have done additive synthesis by adding in more than one oscillator together and mixing them, which we didn't really mix. So here's on this one we have the ability to mix how loud each wave is. We can also then filter certain frequencies out, just like an EQ. That's virtually all that is. It is an EQ. We're filtering frequencies.
And an EQ then is which type of the synthesis?
That is subtractive synthesis, because we're subtracting from a complex wave.
Well, tools, not rules. I shall take that back, because I think we agree. Usually you get your best results in subtractive synthesis from an EQ, but technically most EQs, if the EQ has the function, you can technically add or attenuate frequencies, which...
Oh, good point. When you're boosting frequencies, that's additive.
Right, that is technically additive synthesis, right?
We can also tie that and pass it through a modulation where we get kind of like... hold on, let me get us something really low like this, like a low-pass filter. Hear how it's going, wah, 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 wah. That's because this frequency is not, in this example, it's not meant to be heard as much as it is meant to actually affect the sound.
Exactly.
By combining them together. But there is another function for that, and it's our LFO over here. I'm not going to go into that too much. I just do want to touch base on the envelope. An envelope, when we talked about ADSR,
Yep.
attack, sustain, decay, release, this is where you get to choose that. Here's our attack time right at the beginning. We can make that attack time for each different oscillator a little bit longer. This one is a lot more robust because we can do crazy stuff with the attack times and stuff like that.
I love explaining that in these graphs because it's so easy to visually see it in a simple format. You can literally see the attack, you can literally see the sustain, you can literally see the delay, and you can literally see the release.
Oops.
And very simple graph points.
And I think, right, for anyone, I will give away this little hint, right? When you're really getting into synthesis full on, what we're thinking about is we are doing this over and over to whatever component of our sound we choose, right? Because and the beauty of that synthesizer, for instance, right, is that we have 3 envelopes. What am I doing with each envelope? The exact same thing, but to what you assign. And that's where where we really got the flexibility, right? LFO stands for low frequency oscillator, but having that ability to then use my waveform, again, like you said it so great, Mike, to not be heard. I mean, you do hear it, but you're not actually hearing the wave. You're actually hearing the effect of the wave. And that is so... just that whole next dream within a dream inception, like double layering of the audio was a huge advancement, right? Because there's no acoustic instrument that can do that. You can't play. There's no instrument you can play that just oscillates the whole orchestra.
Right.
Yeah, you can't do that. It'd be dope if you could, but it doesn't exist, right? So we added whole new aspects.
That's why music, I think, just continues to grow. As we keep finding new advancements in technology and science that allow us to add on to what we had done in the past. Where we started with our voices and some sticks and some wood.
Just like the movie Caveman, starring Ringo Starr.
And then we have evolved all the way to the point of additive and subtractive synthesis of actual instruments virtually.
Do we have a round of applause button for mankind and humanity?
There's one on there, I believe.
Can we just get a round of applause for what we've done in audio?
Just find it.
That's
pretty good.
That's intro theme music to the applaud to come. And some good chuckles. That was funny, Damien. And there it is.
There it is. That's our applause. Yeah, wait. Don't turn it off yet. Don't turn it off yet.
I knew that. He was like, I'm good. That immediately.
All right. So as an example of the type of drastically robust type of synthesizer you can create in here, here's one that we have. And take a listen. And this is just adding and subtracting all different types of tones, frequencies, waves. Here's a better look at its LFO. And here's a better look at its envelope. See how we can actually see when it's doing that wop, 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 wop.
Is there one that actually goes across where it's playing through the wave?
No, because that's a subtractive synthesizer, but I do got something for that later.
Cool.
You can...
I've got one.
Notice it didn't do the same.
See it on the end.
Oh, yeah, he was trying to show where it was actually keeping track with the actual envelope itself, which if you can kind of see it, there's a little black... ribbon going across or a darker ribbon.
And the way this one works is there's this really cool feature where you can just tie it, make it stop at one of these certain nodes on your ADSR and just hold there. Or play back through if you want. Go in reverse if you want.
Right.
Or set it to where, look at what this one does at the bottom. It holds there until I let go, and then it releases.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, very robust, all kinds of cool stuff you can do. That's a good... Honestly, one of my favorite additive synthesizers you can use, and another one is Massive. And
it is massive.
Massive is massive.
Massive is massive. I love Massive.
So Massive is the same idea. Look, we got 3 oscillators on the side here. Now, this one is significantly different, though. Hold on, let me get this stupid thing out.
I've wasted days in this program.
I
wouldn't say wasted. I've just played.
I was going to say, waste is such a harsh word.
Yeah, waste is the wrong word.
For time enjoyed, thoroughly enjoyed.
I have played that program.
So the way this one works, say we have our first oscillator here, and I want to put some sort of an ADSR on it. That's our envelopes here. We have 4 of them we can play with and customize, and then tie it to whatever we want to by dragging and dropping it there, increasing this, and then we have... Hold on a second. Is this the wrong one? It's been a long time since I used this stupid thing.
Wait, so what are you trying to have happen? So right now, I believe you just applied the envelope to that parameter of that oscillator.
Yeah, hang on.
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute.
Hold up.
Won't you hold on to what we got? I knew one of y'all would know that
Okay,
song.
so
and
I'm
I
going
was
to pull up
right.
this attack time. I can't remember.
What are you trying to accomplish, Michael?
I'm trying to get this LFO, this envelope filter to affect this. Oh, wait. First of all, let's turn these off.
Well, it seems like you're trying to get a perceived effect that an LFO would produce. But
Not an
you're trying to
LFO,
get
not
it
a
out of
not
the-
not
out
not
of an
LFO.
envelope. Okay.
ADSR. Envelope.
Well, take a sinusoidal wave because it'll probably be the easiest to be perceived out of that because you might not be able to get it past the button. Can you just get a basic sine wave in there
Yeah. Where
or something closer to that shape?
Sine square, whatever. So, okay, there we go. That's better. Notice how every time I'm hitting this, instead of just coming right in, it's going wah, wah. That's why.
the
That's
attack.
because of this.
This long attack.
Shorten that.
And if
There
I
you
shorten
go.
it, it does
There
that.
you go. Yeah.
Same thing with everything else about it's the ADSR, like we mentioned before. We have attack time. This
It's-
level.
it's literally left
usually
to
you don't
right,
see one of
too.
these,
Yeah.
but this level helps you control this
The
peak
peak.
here between the attack time and the decay time. Decay time is all this stuff in the middle. That's how. Notice how it goes, and then it's holding like that. And when I let it go, that's our release. Ooh,
And the
goes
sustain
away.
is exactly that. It's how long
Yeah.
you're holding out the note there.
Yeah. So that's just for that. Of course, if we wanted to do, say, an LFO, low frequency oscillator, what we would want to do is maybe say, let's tie that to this guy over here. I need a cutoff, a low pass. There we go. And then pull this guy up. Notice how it's having this modulation that
Yeah.
happens. And if we go to the LFO that we tied it to, we can change this rate.
Yep.
How fast that goes. Wow, 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 wow. This program is responsible for a lot of dubstep.
Yep.
If that
really
makes
is.
any sense.
And I think that's what they used for the transformer sounds in the Michael Bay.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
that and a whole bunch of voodoo. There's a lot of black
This is
magic behind
Skrillex's
that,
favorite
which is
thing on the planet.
fantastic.
Right. You know, so I love Massive. Pull up one of the presets.
I don't think I downloaded the
Oh, you didn't?
presets.
You
Let me
didn't?
take a peek.
They should. I thought there was
I'm a
some-
real artist.
Nope.
I create all of my own wave signals.
I don't. I'd rather get a preset and then
Me
make
too.
it what I want it to be.
I was wondering why. I'm like, why would you not have downloaded the presets?
Speaking of, when we were talking about MIDI controllers and how we're going to use that here, let me show you something really cool. If we go to this rate right here and just touch on this knob, throb it real quick.
Throb.
Actually, there's a couple different ways you
I
can
don't
assign.
throb on knobs. I'm just gonna let. you
So
guys
if
know
we
that.
right click and if you want to assign this into the actual software instrument itself, you right click on the knob. Almost every knob, button, or anything that you have in a digital audio workstation is capable of MIDI assignment.
Right.
So if we click on here and click MIDI Learn, all I have to do is go over to my MIDI controller and turn something. And now it's assigned to that. And notice how when I'm turning this knob that I've assigned it to MIDI, it's changing the rate,
Now-
which we can then do this. Now, instead of having to go in and click and drag this and that, this is why you would want to have a good MIDI controller so that you can assign something and have real life knobs, because we are a human.
Right.
We need a human interface device to interface with a computer.
So, different programs are going to have different features to get that MIDI learn on it, depending on the digital audio workstation.
Yeah,
that
read
you're
your
working
manual.
in.
I mean, it's
exactly.
pretty simple, though, in almost everywhere.
I mean, a lot
Read
of your
your
more
manual,
modern
check some-
controllers have what we consider to be plug and play nowadays. But if you
Yeah.
want some more specific fine tuning of your connectivity of your interface with your DAW or
That's a great way
your
to do
software,
it.
right? Then yeah, your manual is going to be your best resource because you don't just have to stick with whatever applied plug and play. Maximize your equipment, right? Tools, not rules.
Yep.
Truly get the most out of what you
Bingo.
got.
So that's it for the additive synthesizers. Let's talk about subtractive synthesizers. So, anyone want to remind us what that means exactly?
Subtractive synthesizers.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean when you already have a noise and you're like, I need different
Not
lesses
just,
of
we have a
this?
lot of noise. We have a lot of frequencies. It's where you take a complex wave of any type, and that's pretty much anything you can possibly record.
Right.
Any wave file, really. And then You remove frequencies to get a desired effect from that. You can also still tie that to LFOs, low frequency oscillators. You can tie it to envelope filters and things like that. It all
One of the
is just as customizable.
best commercial examples I can think of is a very popular vocal effect in the electronic world, has been for quite a few years now, where you will have vocalists that will come in and they will sing a line, right? They'll give you melody and whatever the lyrics are, and then the producer will actually go in and amongst modulating different pitches and doing different glissando slides between notes that aren't necessarily humanly done. They'll take certain syllables and they'll rearrange syllables, or they'll take they'll take the syllable of a word and the word will start like it's speaking the word forward, but different syllables within the word will just be flipped in reverse just for the syllable, and other ones kept. And so it just creates very awesome and weird.
Sounds like a fart.
Jeez,
What fart have you
having
ever
fun
heard
over
that
there?
sounds like that? Only this guy. What?
You haven't met my dad.
You need to
Sorry, old man.
That's what we need.
But,
That's what we need there.
You need to show him this episode.
Right.
He won't watch it anyway, but if he did, he'd get mad. I guarantee it. I'm like, you don't need to be talking about me, boy.
But yeah, but that's subtractive, right? Really,
I'm
what
cutting
we've
that
done is
whole
that
thing
we
out
take
just to make sure he does it.
it's some filtering on the EQ side, right?
Yeah.
We're pulling out some of our high end and our low end frequencies. We're enveloping some things, doing some modulation with that envelope, and then we're also doing some actual flipping within the actual wave file itself, like flipping up the waveforms. But that's a form of subtractive, right? We took from what we originally started with and manipulated enough. And I think here's the key, and people are all over on this. It's if you manipulate or influence it enough that one could distinctly say this is a different sound or a new sound, right? Because we can affect the sound enough, like a chorus effect is a great
We
thing.
have subtractively synthesized a new sound from the old sound.
Right. You see what I mean? Not just affected the old sound, because you can affect it and really it's still the old sound. It's just the old sound affected. Whereas I think specifically when we're talking about subtractive synthesis, we are taking away enough, again, that it is distinctly, if you played this, somebody like, no, like that is distinctly different than the original sound. Like it is not the same sound that we were dealing with overall, right? So
because we've manipulated it to be what we wanted it to.
And about manipulating it, let me show you an example of one of my favorite subtractive synthesizers.
Of your favorite subtractive synthesizer.
All right. Go ahead and jump back over to my computer. This one is called Iris 2 by Isotope. Notice we have this section here. I wish I could actually pull it up and play with it. I don't have it on this machine right now. But what we do is we simply load up a WAV file, and we get this amplitude over time domain. And we can go in, and just like if you look over here, we have a lot of similar type of features that you'd see in programs like Photoshop, where you're coloring and grabbing frequencies and selecting frequencies with the same type of tools here. And then just like Massive, in fact, this idea that these features that these have were totally ripped off from Massive. You would literally drag and drop an envelope or an oscillator to a knob and then set it to affect it. How much you're going to affect it, of course, by
what range,
by with
what
these
speed.
Yeah, exactly.
Why reinvent the wheel, though?
And
When it
same
works,
thing
it
there.
works.
You can right-click on any of these knobs and move the knob select MIDI learn, move the knob or button, whatever you want that to be assigned to.
Also, pay close attention to your software, right? This is like Massive and Isotope, and usually the bigger names have this kind of function. But just to be known, there are some legacy programs and even still some newer ones that are made that you need to remember to turn your learn function off when you're
done making it learn.
Once you got it, the knob at once, if you don't go back and turn it off, the moment you touch the next trigger, pad, whatever, you just replace the pad, right?
That's
So
a great tip,
just
actually. That's gonna
quick little nugget.
unconfuse a lot of people.
Let me show you. Actually, let's just show them a quick example of that. Let's jump back over to my computer real quick.
Yeah.
I'm going to assign one of these buttons, these keys here.
Yeah.
Maybe not a key. Let's do. I wonder if I can do it with CC. I never tried it before. I'm going to assign this button on my controller to turn the solo on and off, right? So I'm going to just click it so that the computer knows the last thing I'm messing with is here. And then I'm going to go up to, and this is how you do this in Logic Pro, by the way. It's going to be different with anything else. But we go down here to Control Surfaces and go Learn Assign for Solo, right? I'm going to click on that. It's in Learn mode. I'm going to click the button that I want it to be assigned to, and it's not doing it. I don't think that button can be assigned like that.
That
There we
one-
go. That one got assigned.
There we go.
So one of my note buttons actually got, you can assign those to being a trigger to turn something on and off.
Mhm.
Once I'm done, take it out of learn mode, right down here. Turn that off.
I think can you drag that window? I don't know if that part of the
Yeah,
window's
yeah,
on
yeah,
screen.
yeah. This is where the learn mode was on and
Bring
off.
the bottom of the window up.
I can't. That's
Oh.
as far. That's as large as it goes.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
crap.
off that bottom corner, you will see a learn button, and and it toggles on.
Here,
and off.
wait. This won't let me go back to easy view. So let me do something that's certainly easier. How about a mute button? Here we go. I'm assigning a mute button. So now I'm going to go back up here to preference, no, control surfaces, learn for mute. Why? Now we go to easy view. There we go. This is the view I was looking for.
Okay.
So that's your learn button, right?
Yep.
It's in learn mode. I'm pressing a button to make it assigned to it. It just got assigned. I'm taking it out of learn mode.
It's just like that.
And
yeah.
now, every time I hit that button, it turns the mute on and off for me.
Mhm.
And I'm doing that. I could do that with any of these keys here.
Right, every single one. If it's a MIDI trigger, if it's sending sending and receiving MIDI data, technically, right, it really can be used for.
You can flavor it to taste.
I like how.
All right. Let me get rid of these control surfaces. We don't have to see me do this. But you can if you want. If you want to go ahead and delete these, you would go to the things that you have assigned. I hate this view. This is exactly why I hate this view.
Because he's not an expert.
No, not in this. Because it's
Oh.
usually a lot easier. I just hit learn mode, assign it to what I need to, and I don't usually have to come in here and mess with this.
Whatever, baby proof cap.
Oh, but this is really cool. If you wanted to assign something, but say you wanted to assign a button here, but you didn't want it to be able to go through 0 to 127, this is where you would set those restrictions.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. This is where you could also multiply the number that is spitting out by a different number if you want. Right now it's set to 1. That
Right.
means that every time this CC data is set to 127, it will always output 127.
Yeah.
But if I put it to 2, it's going to double that, of course.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So, very customizable. MIDI is the reason why this existed and has lasted and endured for this whole amount of time, because as you can see, with very little protocol, very little bits of information, we can do all kinds of stuff. Like the sky is really the limit here. So, we took a sidetrack there. Where were we at?
We're
Oh, we were
subtractive
talking about
synthesis.
subtractive synthesizers, and really I'm done on that one. The Iris is like a perfect example of it for me.
So let's find out what time point are we at? Do we want to start diving into
We are at
MIDI effectors, or do we want to?
No. But we got a couple more different. We need to
We're
talk
at
about
a-
samplers.
we're at about 50 minutes ish of material.
So, including what the couple little minutes, like take into account that we probably got a couple minutes worth of
Yeah.
cut out. Okay, then you know what? Yeah, if I guess we can jump into samplers. Right now's a good time. That would be to jump into samplers, right?
Do
Yup.
it.
I'm gonna do something else real quick though. Give me some silence. I'll cut all this shit out. I need to get rid of these MIDI controls. Bypass all control surfaces. There we go. Boom. Okay.
Just in case anybody was
Nope.
concerned, my intestines feel a lot better from my overstuffage, and I feel like I'm not gonna die
Nope,
now.
that didn't work. There we go. Okay, so samplers. One of my favorite ones is Contact. Contact is really one of the best. It's an expensive program. In my opinion, it is absolutely worth it if you can get it. It's got many different types of. Really, Contact itself is cheap. It's all of the sample packs that you buy. That's
Right,
where it gets
yeah.
really expensive. I've got quite a few of them here. Right now, I've got a drum kit loaded up. And when we're looking at it, it usually gives you this really cool
The studio drama.
picture of the kit that you're playing
Yeah.
here, right? And that sounds very authentic. That's not, in my opinion, samplers can be even more powerful and really even better than a synthesizer when you're just trying to synthesize a sound, because say I want the sound of this drum in this room, I can record that drum in this room and then record it at different like levels of velocity of hitting it for real, and then use those recordings to build a very robust, realistic sounding drum kit. And that can be the case for any other instrument.
Yep.
For instance, here's our drum kit. Very quietly. It's the sound. It's not just triggering that snare silently. It's triggering the sound, the real life sound of you hitting a snare silently until I hit it hard.
And like a lot, I think a lot of the big development that came with software plugins, especially in the percussive world, came from the number of samples used, right? Where it was usually a 1-to-1, but you would hear about these big, robust, but you got to have it because these strings are so real. And it was because, somebody captured just the flick of the bow of an initial, staccato run. And then we went into MIDI and we did it in a specific ADR or ADSR that we find this envelope is what it travels when it's being done for real. Like this is that part of the waveform is equivalent to that. And then somebody just did a sustain, and then you actually have 4, 5 different sound recordings that have now been blended and mixed at their different moments in time as they would have been to create this one robust. Now it sounds perfect, a replication of when the bow first touched the strings, as the hairs were sliding across, how much resin was on it, and how that changes across the screen, and then how when the bow is coming off, right? All of these, there was a wave sample put in of each intricate moment. And then somebody went and took the time to blend them all together, because we're talking in milliseconds of time. Like this is the thing. It's one thing to mix over the course of a track, right? We got a track, even if it's a 2-minute track, and we're mixing through sections. Now do a mixing where we're blending within subdivisions of a millisecond
that's where,
of waveform things that are happening so that it sounds to your ear. You didn't realize, no, somebody didn't actually get the perfect recording of that. We got a perfect glissando, we got a perfect legato sustain, we got a perfect initial attack and burst of the thing hitting, right? And we blended them all together in milliseconds, and you got that one sound that now you can recreate, change,
Speaking of,
do everything.
Let me show an example of that, because I got a brass instrument pulled up and it sounds authentic as crap.
Man,
so take a listen to this, and also look what's happening in the software.
Oh yeah, these are the plugins I was telling you about earlier. Session horns right here. This is one of them.
Yeah. So well, there's many different views. We won't go into all of them, but with this view, this is where you get to decide which sound samples are triggered based off of the velocity of attack of how hard you hit that button. And if I hit this one quietly, it's these ones on the bottom. But as I hit it louder, it's getting into these other ones that are completely different recordings. They're a different sample, and that one is a sample where the embouchure was more.
Yeah, and a lot more, because there's a lot more buzz in reality when you transition from maybe a relaxed embouchure that you can get those soft notes out of, and that pressure, like that really tense, flexed embouchure you have to drive through notes, and that extra buzz created. There's little timbre things that, when you've been around it long enough. I know you being a Scott, you've been around it long enough. You know the different little timbres to be able to tell.
I don't know a lot about playing brass instruments or woodwind instruments personally,
but hearing them, not necessarily
I've
playing,
played
but
with
the
musicians who specialize in those instruments a lot. I love playing with horns. It's so much fun.
So much energy.
As long as the
fail.
and at like the horn players who are currently in the Mushman, Jacob and Scott, are so talented and good at what they do. It was an absolute pleasure to play with them.
Heck yeah.
And I have my other friends that I played with. I love playing with them too, but they weren't always mindful of where my signal flow was on my pedals, and often stepped on them. Because their instruments are acoustic and don't require the signal that mine did. And it's like, why is the guitar
travel
out?
to this side?
It's like, I don't know, Sean. It's probably because you ran over to this side of the stage and stepped over my pedal.
And clicked it.
And then grabbed my cable there and then yanked it out. And I had to stop what I was doing and go down there and then literally
the way you describe it makes it sound intentional.
No, he definitely didn't do it on purpose. He was just having a good time on stage, but he wasn't paying attention to where my instrument was corded.
Right. Tracking it down. Zinger.
So last one I want to show is I installed this for my birthday, right? Damien gave me a bunch of his programs that he purchased. He let, because a lot of software allows you to have multiple computers signed in,
right?
And he let my computer be one of those.
Well, and in reality to that, with those licensures, we work together so much.
That we need them to be on
and also
multiple machines.
We work from multiple machines in multiple DA or the same DAW, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm writing a song that uses these software instruments, and I just want to send you the project file in Logic, the project file is going to by default try to pull up those plugins at the settings that I saved them at, which they can do if you also have them on your machine, right? And it prevents me from having to basically export these as stems or bounce them, and it allows you to basically see what I did, change it if you need to. and it gives you a lot more control of it, and just makes it a lot easier. And like, I'm using Guitar Rig in my computer for our guitar sound and our bass sound
Mhm.
on it, and we're using Battery on yours separately.
Right.
The same software package,
Battery.
right? But
Good example.
we need
Keep talking.
multiple different machines running them, basically because of processor power. A little
Yep.
is
That's
a lot
a
of
very
that,
real component.
and also just having the license installed on your machine, it helps our band function better.
Yeah, it
I
certainly
think.
does.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Battery. I'm loading up Battery
I
right now.
love
That's
Battery.
also a great, amazing sampler. I was
Yes,
going
it
to show Reactor. I still want to show Reactor
yeah,
before we
definitely.
end
Dude,
because that thing is amazing. And I only just now realized, oh, he installed this one too.
Yeah.
And then when I pulled, I've never used Reactor. I pull
It's
it up
so
and I'm like, oh
fun.
my God, this is fantastic.
Right.
So here is Battery though. Battery is an even better example of a sampler because you
And
get to load.
these are built like other MIDI controllers that don't look like yours and have the keys on it, like Push
Right.
by Ableton.
Oh, I got a
Yep.
picture of Push. Let me
Yeah.
get that pulled
Well,
up.
it kind
real
of looks
quick.
like that grid that you've seen right there.
Here is the no, this is the APC40.
Yeah.
Talk about MIDI controllers. This one is designed almost entirely for CC data.
Yep.
So
Look-
that
look at all
and
those
it was
switch
made
triggers.
specifically for Ableton Live. If you notice, it's laid out just like Ableton Live is. Looks very similar to it.
Yep.
But again, it's plug and play for a lot of different things, and it can be used with anything. It's CC data. It's MIDI. You can assign it to anything you want. But the Ableton Push is even more robust than that. This thing is crazy too.
Oh yeah, you got the wave right on.
Yeah, you got the
there.
wave right. Honestly, there could be multiple episodes about everything that
Oh,
this
yeah,
thing can
yeah,
do
easily.
because this is not an amateur
Well-
level controller. This is definitely a pro level controller.
So one of the things I really do want to
expensive, too.
communicate with our viewers on our first season here is we're not trying to give you every detail on all of these things. This is not a master class.
It's just too much
This,
to go
this,
into.
this is
on
just
a podcast.
a little bit to kind of get you going and have some fun. We'll probably get into a lot of these things further as we go on into other seasons that we're doing this, because I really enjoyed doing this show so far, and I've grown in a lot of ways as a multimedia artist, not just a musician now.
Yep.
Helping host the show, produce the show. It's helped me grow in a lot of ways and areas, and I think that we're getting better at it as we do it. But at the same time, I'm tangenting so bad I forgot what I was talking about.
Well, I think here I'll insert here. I think
Yeah.
because the true heart behind it is right. We want the content. I think
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah,
most
yeah.
effective way that we can make sure the content is beneficial to you guys is on things like that. We really want the community to give us your feedback, right? If you hear something and you begin to rabbit hole into it, you're inevitably going to come to a crossroad. Like, hey, these guys got. If I could get a question to them, they could get me the answer to this. But we can only get we can't get the answer till we get you to the question, right? We got to get you
Right.
to the watering hole. That's what the hope of the podcast is. Let's get
Oh,
you
that's
to
brilliant.
the watering hole.
And-
And, to get you and then send us that. We'll
And
make a
our-
master class. We'll make the additional content.
Right, exactly.
to do that type of
Definitely,
thing.
definitely. If you are inclined to do so, like, comment, and subscribe on our stuff. We will take that feedback in kind. Like we're gonna read what you say. We're probably gonna respond to it, and then if there's content that you want us to cover and go over, we are absolutely looking for content to fill other episodes. We're just trying to get a high level overview to really get you going in the audio field with this first season.
Yeah.
Just to kind of touch
Yeah,
base on us,
Shane. Yeah.
touch base on a lot of what we do, a lot of what we know, and how you can potentially apply it and things that you want to do to just give you access to that information. There's all sorts of other places that you can go to reference it.
Because always to go back, this is also more than just audio for production, right? This is as well, right? We're audio for music, but this is also audio for video, right? And so
Right.
whatever your project is, right? Take the tools and the things that we're talking about and apply it to your arena.
Yep.
And then ask the question, help the community grow, right? Ask the question that you're facing. The answer may actually solve more than just your problem. It may solve the problem.
All right. So let's get back to Battery.
Yep.
Okay, this is a great sampler. It's a perfect example. You can literally drag and drop samples in here. You can assign it to a LFO. You can assign it to an envelope filter. You can put additional effects on each one separately or bust them all together. Let me just pull up just some random.
I
let me
love the
see here.
DMT kit personally.
The DMT kit.
Yeah.
I saw Burning Man. I was like, hey, are you going to Burning Man? You know what? We're going with the Captain Jack kit.
All right.
And I think we all know why. We're not going to get too topical here today, but I think we all know why. Anyway, so as we see here, we have all our different samples. You can actually see the wave here. And when you click on these, you can hear them, but also they are assigned to all of our cool little note buttons. And that by default, I'm just looking at the drums here, of course, but you can really assign this to, you can upload any sample you want. Any sample you want, and do whatever you want to with it. Where was the DMT one? You said one was called DMT?
Yeah, but it's spelled out like DEEEMM.
Oh, screw that. Dubway kit. Here's Dub Remix kit. Let's hear what that does. Because you get all these really cool, like, preloaded samples. But again, you can build these yourselves.
Right. And actually, a lot of the tools that we're talking about, in addition to other ones that we've talked about.
Ew,
like,
this is gross.
Like compressors, they're here in this program here. Oh, that tom. That's
That is a dirty tom.
I wonder if there's the St. Anger snare in here.
No, that's just the whole kit. It's just once everything is loaded up with just the St. Anger snare sound.
Yeah, well, let's actually, as a group in one of our songs, just load an entire drum kit of different points in time of that terrible snare.
Right, exactly. All right, and the last one I'd like to show you is Reactor. Now, we were trying to get, I was trying to explain before. I don't really know too much about this thing because I literally didn't realize I had it on my machine before we got started. No. But what I can tell you is this thing is amazing.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about Reactor, and this is the play function of it, where there's already pre-written programs for it that have triggered samples. Yeah, but this is just a sampler.
Might be tripping. Galaxy start flipping. Off the brain tripping. Listen to Lil Wayne. See where I'm coming from, hip hop. Too hot for the stop when it won't drop. Did what we do, we drop like the bass do. You ain't never seen nobody make the bass move. Room on swell. Ain't nobody sleeping on who? But S.Free coming with the real culture, but.
Well, I mean, that's a great example of improv right there. All you're using is a sampler and a MIDI controller and a vocalist. And
have fun.
I love this.
The world is your oyster.
I wish I could give you more info on it, but I'm going to play with it a lot tonight because it was the first time I've ever even played with it.
And, you know, I actually think that's a really great stopping point for our episode today. Because that's really the spirit of the show that I really want to capture. There's a lot of knowledge and a lot of deliberate effort that goes into what music is and what musicians do. But at the same time, once you have the tools set up in front of you, the important part is the actual try this at home portion.
Yep.
Have fun with it. Be ridiculous and be serious.
Something
just go.
Something no adult has ever said to another adult: go play with your toys. We know you have them, and that's okay. Go play with your toys. That is the whole point of this show, to encourage you to do that.
These are some expensive ones, but don't get me wrong. You can look online and easily find free software instruments, plugins, free digital audio workstations. All of this can be found for free, and just because it's free does not mean it's not useful. It does not mean it does not give you good quality.
Maximize the functionality. You gotta know how to use that tool. Right? You may not have all of the functionality of every plugin of every software maker, but your plugin does have some. It has some functionality. Learn it, maximize it.
And also, there's always a starting point to every journey, right? You don't need to know all of these things to start going on it. You just need to know a little bit to start playing, and through that play, you can actually start to grow and learn things and figure it out.
And then remember to come back here.
Exactly.
When you get to the next obstacle, wait, we talked about that on Try This at Home.
Bingo.
Let me go back to episodes.
Let me go check out to that episode, which we're organizing the playlist. You know, that's actually a good end of the episode.
But it was so perfectly timed.
No. Go finish what you were saying.
I don't want to do it. I hate you guys.
We warned you. Okay. We'll give you one dad joke for that.
No, I've already given them 400. I mean, they're not stopping, so I know they're coming. Give me all the dad jokes. I'm prepared. As long as I've got that button,
I'm
prepared.
on air, but I did tell you guys this one earlier today and in our group text. What do you call a group of men waiting in line to get their haircut?
What do you call this?
A barbecue.
Now give him the button again for
I
saying
was
that.
going to do that, but that doesn't deserve the air horn. No,
Actually,
It was more a rebellious air horn, not a complimentary air
I'm going to give
horn.
us an audio engineering one that I've also told you guys
Okay.
before. What did the DJ say when he got slapped with a high frequency?
What's that?
Did he tell us this one?
It hurts.
Yes, he did tell us that
Hit the laughter.
one.
I don't know what
It
the
doesn't deserve a round of applause. There it is. There it is.
Very good. Very good.
Good stuff, gentlemen. Good stuff.
We got a lot. We still have a lot to go over in our next episode on MIDI and software instruments. We haven't even touched effects at all,
Right.
really.
Yeah.
Which is something that, as a musician, guitarist specifically, I do a lot of. Actually, one of my other guitarists in my last band, the Mushmen, I said online when people were like, "How many pedals do you have on your board?" I was like, I think 15 or something ridiculous. And he was like, "Well, at least you said
15.
it. At least you said it was ridiculous."
Be truthful with yourself, right? The worst lie you can tell is the one you told yourself.
Right. I'm not trying to lie to myself about my pedal board at all. I'm opposite. I'm
Oh, this is so normal. This is completely normal. No, we no, it's not.
total truth on my pedal board. I know it inside and out. I love playing with effects. It's one of my favorite things to do, and I am a wizard when it comes to dialing in guitar tone.
Well, then the next episode's going to be great, so
Yeah.
stay tuned to try this at home.
Gang, 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 gang.
Is that the end?
That's the end.